welcome to From the South, teleSur's daily news show. We start off, as always, in Latin America. A day of fighting between police and drug traffickers in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, resulted in several deaths. Clashes occurred in a favela when drug traffickers blocked the street and set garbage and tires on fire. Since 2008, security forces have occupied several favelas that were in the hands of drug traffickers for 30 years. Both drug trafficking groups are pushing to regain control of some of the favelas. Over the weekend, a helicopter was also shut down, killing 4 officers. The Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit came to a close over the weekend in Lima, Peru. U.S. President Barack Obama addressed concerns about a Donald Trump presidency and the T.P.P. trade agreement. Signatories of the controversial trade pact shared their anxiety over Trump's declaration that he would not honor the proposed document. China has proposed an alternative trade agreement called the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, which does not include the United States. And Chinese President Xi Jinping extended his state visit to Peru to discuss bilateral trade. This is also part of his strategy to lead global free trade. They will also discuss an offer to finance a South American train to cross the continent linking Brazil, Bolivia, and Peru. China has been positioning itself to lead in the potential absence of the United States and a Trump presidency. After the APEC summit in Lima, Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe headed to Argentina to bolster bilateral trade and investment ties. It will be the first visit to Buenos Aires by a Japanese Prime Minister in 57 years. Japan is forecasting a surge in investment in Argentina from $100 million a year ago to at least $2 billion annually for 3 years. Colombia's president said that he is healthy and free of cancerous tumors. This comes after a scare last week when doctors detected elevated levels of prostate-specific antigen during a routine checkup. Men with prostate cancer often have elevated levels of PSA, a protein in the prostate gland. Juan Manuel Santos had successful surgery 4 years ago to remove a tumor in his prostate. He will take medication and undergo 1 session of radiotherapy to eliminate any possible traces of the disease. Venezuelans of different political and class brackets celebrated together over the weekend. It was called the Carrera de Color, or Color Ride. It was a recreational event, but Venezuelans left with a feeling of unity.
The state of Honduras has ignored calls from the International Court to reinstate 2 judges who were removed after they opposed the 2009 coup. In June 2009, the military kidnapped President Manuel Zelaya, removing him from the country. The coup was enacted in coordination with the United States Embassy, the Supreme Court, and the National Congress. Only 2 judges and a magistrate voiced their outrage, calling the kidnapping a coup. The judges went to the streets and joined the resistance, and later were dismissed and prohibited to work in the country's justice system.
After the coup, we joined the demonstrations because we thought it was our responsibility, not only to accompany the resistance, but also to do legal actions that prove we had a coup d'etat.
After he was removed from the justice system in July 2009, Guillermo put his case against the Honduran state to the Inter-American Human Rights Court. 6 years later, the court decided in favor of the judges, stating that his removal in 2009 was not legal, but a crime against democracy. November 10th this year was the deadline in which to reinstate the judges, and the Honduran state continues to refuse to adhere to the International Court's ruling.
We reject any arrangement that proposed of paying us without putting us back in the justice system, and we will go again in the International Human Rights Court.
The Honduran state's decision to disobey the ruling by the International Court could bring extremely bad consequences for the Committee for the Freedom of Speech.
This is a worrying message for all, for the Honduran society, for the remaining independent judges, because the government is saying that they can do what they want, and if anyone demands them internationally, they will only put a price and try to pay their way out of human rights abuses.
The case of LOPEZ against the Honduran state showed that the government has no intention of attempting to deny the political crimes that began in 2009. The judges themselves will continue to attempt to prove the injustice committed. Gerardo Torres, teleSur, Honduras.
Pope Francis has indefinitely granted all Roman Catholic priests the power to forgive abortion, which was previously reserved for bishops or special confessors. Traditionally, abortion is one of the most controversial issues for the Church. The 79-year-old Argentine Pope is arguably the most progressive leader in the Church's history. Police sprayed hundreds of protesters with water in sub-degree temperatures on Sunday night. The protesters, or water defenders, are opposed to a North Dakota oil pipeline project. Police also used tear gas and fired rubber bullets on the demonstrators. Some people were injured and one person was arrested during the clash. Some 27 people were killed and another 35 people injured when a suicide bomber detonated an explosive device during a service at a Shia mosque. Local reports suggest children were also killed. This is the third attack on the Shia community in recent months. Families fled from the district of Ulma in eastern Mosul on Saturday during an exchange of gunfire as counter-terrorism forces cleared the area. Local residents were seen leaving buildings and running away, waving white flags as fighting raged on around them.
The Palestinian Ministry of Education called on all international human rights organizations Sunday to protect the children of Palestine on the occasion of the Universal Children's Day. The United Nations holiday is celebrated on the 20th of November each year to promote international awareness on children's issues worldwide.
أطفال فلسطين وبشكل خاص.
Palestinian children, particularly in the Gaza Strip, are going through the most difficult times in the history of the Strip. Amid increasing rates of poverty, unemployment, and food insecurity, this situation has had a serious impact on the lives of these children. In light of the ongoing Israeli blockade, which has affected all aspects of life in Gaza, including health, food, and chances for better education.
In a statement published Sunday, the ministry vowed to do more to defend the rights of Palestinian children and to secure their access to schools without facing the day-to-day threats at Israeli military checkpoints. The ministry also condemned the sustaining of 12-year-old Ahmed al-Manasra by an Israeli court to 12 years in prison on charges of attempted murder. The Palestinian human rights group Al-Damir has documented dozens of cases in which Palestinian children were beaten, threatened, forced to confess, or placed in solitary confinement during interrogation and detention. According to the group, 400 Palestinian minors, including 12 girls, have been arrested in Israeli jails and 61 others were killed by Israeli forces since a wave of violence broke out in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories in October 2015. Muharazin Telesu TV, Gaza.
And finally, Cuba's dance company Danza Voluminos, or Voluminous Dance, is made up of overweight women and men and has fought for decades to show that non-slender bodies can also dance and offer art and spectacle. Voluminous Dance first appeared on the scene in 1996 and has since tried to break prejudices and mockery of overweight people on stage. And that's all for From the South. For more on these and other stories, you can visit our website, telesurtv.net/English.